like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 3 of the Ball Talk podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping the Thunder's Florida swing games against the Magic and Heat last week. Talk about the big money extension for Alex Caruso, along with Jaylin Williams, J-Will, coming back tonight for the game against the Wizards. And then wrap it up with some OU Bowl talk against Navy, things we're looking for, and we might even sprinkle in our Christmas wish list this year when it comes to sports. But I got Chris with me, of course. Chris, how's it going tonight, man?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Excited to be here. It's a good day. Good day. Thunder go 2-0 on the road. My Christmas wish is already fulfilled, but we'll talk about that later.
You're easy to please. Easy to please.
That's right.
Yeah, but looking back, the Oklahoma City Thunder, coming off of a scrimmage that did not matter, came back and in impressive fashion, after a lot of crazy travel, went 2-0 against the Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat, beating the Magic 105-99 on Thursday, and the Heat 104-97. That Thursday game honestly was probably the most
impressive.
Yeah, that was one I thought they were going to snooze through. And Jimmy Butler left early for the Heat game due to sickness.
Yeah, but still, we can't guard the opponent's backup point guard apparently, because Anthony Black had a good night against us in Orlando, and then Tyler Hero decided to become the hero that lost. So maybe not the hero, but
that is fair.
For Miami.
That is fair. In that Magic game, for sure, I think the two main storylines, one, Shea was Shea again after a down scrimmage.
For sure.
I don't know if I'm sure you saw this, but after, I think he was 2 of 10 against the Bucks from 3, he did not shoot a single 3-pointer against the Magic.
Yeah, he just needs to level himself out. Tar, like on a scale, he needs to press tar, go back to 0, and then build himself back up. I'm sure we'll see him add threes to his diet once again, but he's got to get back down to his playing weight.
Yeah, it's like he just decides, like, okay, I've had my fun. I got to get back to this. We got to get this win. He played great. The other main storyline, I think, Jaylin Williams, his frustrations are boiling over, for sure.
Definitely during that Orlando game.
Oh yeah, the Heat game it got a little better, but that Orlando game, I mean, Mark said after the game he was like, "You want to know a fun stat?
Yeah,
me and Jaylin Williams shot the same amount of free throws tonight."
That was a really fun stat.
Yeah. If you're ever bored after a Thunder game, for any diehard Thunder fans listening, just go watch Mark's post-game press conferences. He has some bangers of some quotes.
Yeah.
But he was right. I mean, Jaylin, he drives almost as much as anyone in the league. He's not there at Shea's level yet, but it's what he does. He gets downhill. He's very athletic, long wingspan that I think one of his issues is he tries to use that wingspan to maybe get around contact and not through it.
We don't have any problem with that, but I'm sure if I had the extra long wingspan, I would try to get around people too. But he mentioned too, he said, I got to stop, or it's all about trying to finish through the contact and not try to draw a foul. And I think for the majority of this year, he has tried to draw a foul and maybe not gone up as hard. And it looks like he's just going up awkwardly. Not really going up.
He's getting pushed off of the spot every time he goes up.
Yeah,
you can tell his body's contorting in weird ways. That makes it even harder to finish.
But that's to say, he needs to go through the contact stronger. I think he'll get more calls. But the NBA is a star league, so he'll never get as many calls until he's reached that stratosphere of Shea or someone like that.
I don't know if he'll get to Shea, but he'll get to at least that tier below, I think, is kind of his ceiling. But I
Draymond's
think
ceiling?
I hope he's better than that. But
I would regret
think,
saying that.
yeah, can we edit that?
Let's edit that out.
I would just like everyone to know I think Chris and I both see Jaylin as a better player than Draymond Green. I want that on
the
pod,
record. Put that
especially
on the record.
after Chris just saying that. Yeah, I think what was key in that Magic game, Thunder were up big. They got up over 20 at one point. I think they're up 19 at halftime. And the Magic came back and made it a game, which was impressive because, as we talked about before, Paolo's still out. Franz Wagner's. They both have torn obliques. So there's something going on in Orlando with their abs.
Did you see what else happened to Mo Wagner? He tore his ACL.
Yeah.
The Wagner brothers are out. I mean, there's something going on in Orlando. Because who else? Someone on a different team, I can't remember who it was like, yeah, I'm glad I got out of there. That city's cursed. I can't remember who said that. Some former Orlando player. But yeah, they got a lot of injuries.
Whoever that was sounds like he's right, at least to this point. But yeah, the Magic, when they came back and made it a game, Dub was obviously very frustrated throughout. He wasn't getting a ton of calls, but there was a stretch where he scored 6 straight points in the fourth quarter to kind of create that separation that everyone could kind of breathe and be like, okay, we got this. We're not going to blow this big league on national television again. And after the game, they asked him, like, what changed for you, especially after struggling throughout the game? And you kind of mentioned it earlier in terms of him saying he wanted to play through contact, not trying to get fouls. But he said, I just tried to dunk the ball. Like, hit those 6 points, all he was trying to do was get to the rim and dunk it, and he adjusted when he got there. And he took that, going from the Magic game to the Heat game.
100%.
Dub had 33, 6, and 4 against the Heat. 4 of 7 from 3, so I like seeing him shoot a lot. He shot 7 free throws. So he took whatever the frustrations he had against the Magic and said, nope, I'm going to take this into my own hands. He went and did it. I mean, obviously there's going to be some course correction. I'm not on calls with the league. I'm sure after that game and Mark's comment, there's something that was said. I'm not going to act like that stuff doesn't happen.
Wow, you're a conspiracy theory. Do you also
big
think
time?
You also think the Earth is flat? Ben's a
Yes,
flat earther. That's
and
what I
the
just learned.
The moon is just a balloon. It's not real.
Oh man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, he played so much better, played with force. He was the best player on the court that game. There's a bounty out from NBA Twitter for Lou Dort because everyone thinks that he hurt Jimmy Butler.
Because
he kind of it looked like he tweaked his ankle and was limping around a little bit. But then whenever the broadcast came out and said what the diagnosis was, it was illness. That's why he didn't return. But Twitter thinks that Lou Dort just hurts players, which is dumb. And it's so stupid because I say stupid. I feel like that's not good podcasting, but it's frustrating because people get so they call the Thunder soft and they say we need to start roughing it up a little bit. It's why we lost to the Mavs. We bring in Hartenstein. He's roughing it up. And then we play physical. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, Lou Dort, kick him out of the league.
I think it's coming from a certain sect of fans who are Luka fans.
It is mostly Dallas fans, honestly.
Because every time that Luka goes up against Dort is really physical, and it throws Luka off. And I mean, Luka can have a really good game against Dort. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Dort is ultra physical at the point of attack, making it super hard for Luka to kind of wind up and kind of move into his space. So,
well, that's how Dort's the best Luka defender because he matches his physicality. Luka is not this guy who's gonna just speed past you. Like he breaks you down, he backs you in, and he just stands his ground. And so that's why he's arguably the best defender for Luka. And Luka's even come out and said that he's one of the best 2 or 3 defenders in the league. It's just his fans want to find a way to take away from that to build
Well,
up.
They want to find a way to talk about Luka without having to reference him being
good.
Maybe someone without having to reference the portion of his game where he's slipping. If someone's as physical as him, he may not have a great night. They want him to
it's
always.
Not his fault.
It's not his fault. They're looking to place blame. And as sports fans, that's what our whole existence is.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, big couple wins, especially after we kind of documented the travel issues. They had 3 games in 4 nights. Flew 3 time zones from Vegas to Florida, and you couldn't tell.
Didn't seem to matter for these youngins.
Yeah, I mean, in the Heat game, you would have thought the Heat were coming off the Thunder schedule, not the Thunder.
But they had like a 4-game. Didn't they have like a 4-game break? The Heat.
Their last game before the Thunder game was Monday.
Yeah.
So the day before the Cup Finals. So then there were no NBA games on Wednesday. The Thunder played Thursday, but the Heat, they went from Monday to Friday. So they had 3 full days of rest. But like I said, you didn't see it. Mm-hmm. So shout out to the Thunder. Big couple wins. They're 22-5 now, 7-game win streak. And yeah, before we kind of break into...
Before we do that, before you breaking into something, let me break into something. It's I think after the Bucks game and we went on this road stand, the calls for Cam Johnson were kind of out there, at least on Twitter. And Cam Johnson was on a podcast. Cam Johnson is a shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets.
6'8" shooting guard. He's a big guy.
6'8", big guy. Can really, really shoot. Knockdown shooter. But he was on the podcast with Sue Bird, the WNBA legend, talking about what it's like to be on a tanking team. But he also mentioned the way that you win at a high level of sports is to have this total buy-in. And like every player has to have a buy-in, because if one player doesn't, the NBA is good enough that they can pick on that player and you won't go very far, right? And so after hearing those comments, in my head internally, I'm like, he sounds like a Thunder guy, like buying in, doing your job is very Thunder-esque. But then the other half of it is like, well, if you continually like trade in and trade out guys instead of, letting the team itself work through it and work on their buy-in, are the players going to continually have that buy-in? So on that side, I don't want to bring Cam Johnson in. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he honestly, based off of that interview, makes the point against bringing him in. Right. Even though what he said fits perfectly with what the Thunder do. He said before in interviews as well that he would be interested in the Thunder because of how we play, the system we run. But the coolest thing about this team, and one of the things that I think draws especially local people to the team, and then eventually I think either national people will embrace it or get really annoyed by it, is how close they are, how together they are. Mm-hmm. And that comes from, I mean, Shea and Lou have been here 5-6 years now. Kenrich, similar amount of time. Dubs in year 3. The guys we brought in too, they brought in Caruso and Hartenstein, and they just fit.
Well, they're team first guys.
Yeah, and I'm saying Presti paid for it.
Right. And I'm not like saying that you can't ever bring in new guys to a team, that you have to have the same guys on a team. But like, if there is a glaring weakness, like maybe you have Josh Giddey on your team, maybe you think about bringing in a kid or bringing in a player during the season. I think other acquisitions probably are best done during the off season. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
I think smaller moves can be made, but switching up your rotation so much, and then if you were to trade for a Cam Johnson, you're having to get rid of salary in return, and you're losing a Kenrich and probably a Wiggins.
You're right. I think Cam Johnson might come in and start. Just being that fourth guy that's been like a rotation for the whole season. But that's just what I want to say.
I think he'd fit really well. I just think the timing probably isn't great. Obviously, you come away from the Bucks game, and everyone wants to trade everything and blow it up, and this isn't working. Then you take a step back, you see what they did in Florida, and then you got J. Will coming back tonight.
Oh, I'm so pumped.
The Arkansas Jaylin Williams, he's a vibes guy through and through, and so it's almost like, you know what? Let's not touch it. I think people forget this team's 22-5 just because we lost a big game that didn't count on national television. And the way we lost was not great, and we touched on that a little bit. And it's something, again, that you note where they struggled in that game, and it reflected how they struggled against the Mavs in the playoffs. And then you try to maybe not track those things, but it's kind of a waiting game, as we said, until the playoffs, to see if they can correct those. And there will be some regular season games. They play the Celtics twice, the Knicks. We still play the Bucks twice. And so you can kind of see how they adjust in the regular season. But, I mean, it's been harped on since even last year whenever they were talking about making trades for this team. The best improvement this team can make is internal. It's not bringing people from outside.
Right. And you're still going to bring Chet back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then you see how he fits and go from there. I mean, you can't disrupt a team that's not even whole. Has never been whole this year. We've never played a game with a full roster. So yeah, I mean, they play the Wizards tonight. They have a pretty light schedule through the rest of this week. They don't play on Christmas. Freaking NBA. And so just Chet, I think, yes, yesterday was 6 weeks since Chet's injury. So you have his original release was 8 to 10 weeks was when they would release an update on his return to play protocol. So we're 2 weeks out from the beginning of that time frame. So again, we just have to wait and see on that. Cam Johnson, you're a heck of a player. If you were traded to Oklahoma City, I'd be all in on you. I would hate who we would have to give up, but I'm in the camp of let's see what this team can do.
100%. I wholeheartedly agree, especially since we just re-signed Alex Caruso through 2028 or whatever it is.
Yep, it's 4 years, $81 million. To some, this timing might be weird, but there's a rule in the NBA. Once you're traded on Caruso's contract, we traded for him in June. June 21st, I guess, because you have to wait 6 months. To sign the full extension that he could have signed. He could have signed one before now, but it would have been there were greater restrictions on the length and the amount or percentage of the salary cap that he could have signed for. And so everyone had this date circled as the day that, hey, we can extend him. Everyone thought we would. We gave up a young asset. Everyone has their thoughts on Josh Giddey, but we traded a good young asset that still has a ton of potential for this player. It's a player that started his career in Oklahoma City in 2016 with the Oklahoma City Blue with Mark Daigneault as his head coach. And so now it's just cool to see the full circle moment. And I know Presti had to have this plan the second he made this trade, or even before they might have agreed to the terms on the day of the trade. They just couldn't announce it until yesterday.
Right. I love it. I think regardless of his box score, first off, I want to say I did not know that you had to wait 6 months. So that's a really good little tidbit. But I think he is the down and in the mud kind of player that a team really needs. Because if you think about like the Warriors dynasty, and you think about all the players, all the flashy players they had, Steph and Clay and Kevin Durant, those guys who are on the forefront of, being the best basketball players in the world, you still need a guy like Draymond and Andre Iguodala to make that dynasty successful. You need players who are willing to come in for 15 minutes, shoot the ball once, but they're impacting all over the court, whether it's,
they're
steals.
Building up the stars. They're building them up. Yeah.
Because, as like a pyramid, there's only one top, you have to have people. You have to have something on the bottom. If you're thinking about a cheer pyramid,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk about the other conspiracy theory you believe in with the aliens, but building the pyramid.
Yeah,
so
that's for another pod.
But I think it's a slam dunk, and I don't know much about like the salary cap or anything like that. So, but I love Alex Caruso as a player.
On a later pod, we can, especially once we get through football season, we'll sit down and kind of break down the Thunder's current roster, contracts that could be moved, draft picks, things like that. Because the Thunder have 3 draft picks right now. If the standings ended today, there were 3 first-round draft picks we could make that impact the salary cap. But yeah, it's not a declining contract. So when I say that, if he signed for 4 years, it's not like 2018, 17. It gradually builds up, which was another thing that was a requirement by the CBA because of how his contract was situated. It couldn't be declining with how we acquired him. Would have to dig in a little bit more on that. Obviously, there's a lot of intricacies with all of that. But regardless, he's 30 years old. But you're probably not going to get a good Caruso for more than 60 to 65 games a year, which is fine with how deep and young this team is. You just have to make sure that he's ready in April, May, and June. Healthy. And so I think that's one of the things you've even seen us do already, in that he had that hip soreness. He played in the game that was Hartenstein's debut against the Blazers, and then he exited that game with a hip injury that he actually had re-aggravated. And then we sat him for a week, I think.
A long stretch of time, a big road trip. We went out to LA, and
it was Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're already kind of seeing them manage Caruso and making sure that his body is where it needs to be whenever the games matter the most. And even, let's say, best case scenario is you get what Caruso's been for the last month. He's shooting 37% from 3. He's a connector. He's probably the most disruptive defender in the league, especially for a guard. If you get that over the next 4 years, it's a home run. The salary cap's going to keep increasing, so it's going to look less and less in terms of the full picture of it all. And then worst case scenario is you have a player that still has value, wonderful locker room guy, brings everyone together. And then as you start to make these trades, as we talked about with Cam Johnson, you have to have salary to match. And so if we needed to attach, in 3 years, if we need just some kind of upgrade, you attach one of the billion. Yeah. Cam Johnson in 3 years. Welcome to the Oklahoma City Thunder. You attach him and picks to go get that guy. And so it's an asset on the court. It's an asset off the court. It's a great deal for both teams. I think it's so cool how he was able to break into the league I say break into the league. He came to Thunder training camp. He played for the Blue.
That's breaking into the league.
Yeah, well, he didn't play in the NBA, I guess is what I'm saying. But to see him come back full circle, he said even when he was acquired this year that him and Mark would still get dinner whenever they were in the same town. So they're very close. So yeah, you have him locked up for the next 4 years. Hartenstein's the next 3 years or 2 years after this. And then going into this summer, Shea, Dub, and Chet are all extension eligible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another thing that should be noted is that for a small market team, Clay Bennett and the other owners, Sam Presti, we've talked about it before, they're all in line with the vision of, if we have a great team, we're not going to let financial limitations be something that tears it apart and doesn't give this team a chance to win a championship.
Right.
And so, signing a 30-year-old to an $80 million extension shows we're not afraid to spend money and do what we need to do. We did it with KD and Russ too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But people just see that we stripped it down during the tanking and the COVID year, and that's kind of the persona that a lot of people have of the Thunder. That's as far away from the case as it can be. So all in all, great deal for the team, great deal for Caruso. Happy that my balding brother is going to be in Oklahoma City for the next 4 years.
Hey, we'll make some Balding Brothers t-shirts.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plumbing company.
Hey. So lastly, before we move over, we did mention Jay Will's back tonight, which is big because it'll be the first game this year that we will have 2 centers on the team that's not Kenrich Williams. Chris will be at the game tonight. I will not. But yeah, it's going to be it's a big boost. I think the biggest thing is Hartenstein can play probably a little bit more free, not worrying about foul trouble. And I'm curious to see how they stagger their minutes.
Do you think Hartenstein's ever not played free? I feel like he's a guy that, like, it's never in his mind that he has to not foul.
I think it isn't until it is, in terms of it's a close game. If he picks up 2 quick ones in the first, he's going to be sitting for a while because Mark knows that we need him later in the game. But now, if he picks up 1 or 2 early, I think, honestly, it probably frees up Mark more than Isaiah in terms of knowing I at least have a backup option.
Unfortunately, it probably won't matter much tonight.
It better not. It's the worst team in the NBA.
It better not. That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, so Thunder up. They're crushing it. Excited to see what they do tonight. They do not play on Christmas Day, unfortunately.
They play on Christmas, the day after Christmas.
Yep, not at home. 26th. They play at Charlotte.
They play the Thunder B team with Trey Mann, Poku,
Vasilije Micic.
Yeah,
Poku is not in the NBA anymore.
Oh, that's right. He's back overseas. Serbia. Okay.
But yeah, so
I'm excited. I think Jay Will is going to have a really big standing ovation. I think he's a fan favorite just by the fervor that he lives life with. He loves, he just loves it. So I think
there's going to be a lot of barks. A lot of barks.
Oh yeah, it's going to sound like a kennel.
Maybe that's the next nickname for the new arena in 2028.
The kennel.
Yeah, we need a vet to sponsor.
Not quite as tough as like the dog pound that the Browns have, but
that's fair. The kennel also is the name of Gonzaga's.
Oh, I don't love that. I guess Chet would feel it right at home.
Yep. Well, he's now played in the NBA more than he was at Gonzaga. So,
speaking of sponsors, I had a couple people tell me this weekend that we need to get a urology sponsorship.
Oh yeah.
So if you're out there and you're fixing people's, if you're out there and you're a urologist, come out and give it. We'll shout you out.
Yeah, text us and we'll figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now moving on from the sponsorship part of the pod. OU Navy, Oklahoma football. It is still football season.
Yes.
They play Friday at 11 a.m. in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Chris, is that near and dear to your heart?
It's not, but that's okay. It'll be fun to see, but I think that first off, I want to say I respect the troops. I'm for the troops, right?
First and foremost.
Yes. First and foremost. But I want to see. I mean, there's not much to see with OU, especially on the offensive side. Because Ben Arbuckle's not going to call the game at all. So
he's not calling the game. He is coaching quarterbacks.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'd like to see his development in such a short time with Michael Hawkins. That'd be fun to watch for.
Yeah. Kevin Johns was the interim quarterback coach after Luttrell left, and he took a job at Oklahoma State. And so there was a position on the staff available. So Arbuckle stepping in there. It's still Joe John calling the plays, unfortunately. But he will be coaching on Friday. So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Just kind of Navy. They're 9-3 this year. 6th in the country in rushing yards, so that's going to be a huge test for us. Thankfully, we haven't had. Go ahead.
No, where does OU rank on rushing defense? I'll look it up.
Well, you look that up, and I'll just start rambling off some facts about Navy real quick. So as I said, they're 9-3, 6th in the country in rushing. Thankfully, we don't have any opt-outs on the defensive line. Missing Danny is going to be big, but it's Danny Stutzman. He's opting out of the bowl game, and I don't blame him one bit. Him and Billy Bowman. Having Kip and Kobe McKenzie in the middle, that'll be big. They both have a lot of experience. They've played next to Danny, both of them. So it'll be interesting to see who's calling the plays. I'm assuming it's Kip because Danny had the green dot on the helmet for the defense. But when looking at Navy as a whole, 9-3, their 3 losses are to Tulane, 35-0, who is a common opponent. OU did beat Tulane. It wasn't comfortable, but we at least did it. They lost to Rice 24-10. And then who was there? Oh, excuse me. Notre Dame. They got slacked by Notre Dame, 51-14.
Notre Dame seems to be a pretty good team with what they did over the weekend.
It seems like it. And I remember that game being very hyped up because Navy was actually undefeated going into that game. I remember that week talking to friends. I was like, I don't think Notre Dame is tough, quote unquote. And so I thought Navy was going to go in and run the ball all over them, but Notre Dame said, Ben, you idiot. So it'll be interesting to see. They don't have any opt-outs that I've seen. The common opponents, like I said, they beat Tulane, lost to Tulane 35-0. Mensa was playing. Mensa, the quarterback, has since left Tulane to transfer to Duke. And then they beat Temple the week after we beat them. It was their week 2 opponent. But it'll be interesting to see what OU does on the offensive side of the ball. I think it's a good situation to be in after a 6-6 season. I don't love that it was a 6-6 season, but we're going into a bowl game where all I care about is how do these players look? Can we get guys and can we get a freshman receiver to step up? Can we get, Howland and Ozida and Eddie Pierre-Louis, something strong to build on in this bowl game against a good team, not a team that was competing for the playoffs, but they went 9-3, and see if we can build on something that Arbuckle can take and just somehow have a better season next year than we did this year. It was, like I said, it was a bad offensive football season in Norman. And so 100%. It's going to be, and that's what I'm looking for the most. Can we run the ball on Navy, and can some freshman receiver, Zion Kearney, I don't know if Deion Burks is playing in the game.
I would venture to say no.
He's on the depth chart, which we've learned this year means nothing. But did you find that stat on OU?
Well, I couldn't find OU, but Navy's ranked eighth in rushing defense. They allow 113 yards per
game.
So
we have to throw the ball.
I think we're probably somewhere between 24 and 25, or 24. That would be 25. 24 and 50. So, like you said, I think hearing you say all those freshmen, I just want to see like freshmen kind of dominate, or younger players dominate. On the line of scrimmage, mostly at the offensive line. But we'll see. I'd like to see Xavier Robinson run the ball really well, just because I think he's really exciting.
He could if he has a big game in this, it's something that could set up, obviously a lot of hype going into next year, not just for OU. I mean, it's not like we're going to be we're on national television, but we're on 11 a.m. on a Friday, the day after Christmas. So it's not like all of the world is watching this game, but people might check the box score or something and see what he can do. We mentioned on the last pod, the Sooners brought in John Mateer, quarterback from Washington State, quarterback for Ben Arbuckle. I do think you don't bring him in and pay him what I think OU's paying him like $1.5–2 million a year to back up Michael Hawkins, but it'll show a lot for Arbuckle. It's a short period of time right now, but if Hawkins loves Arbuckle, loves playing under him, you have Mateer for a year, hopefully, if it goes well. He somehow wins the Heisman, goes to New York, and then Hawkins is developed by Arbuckle. Things have gone well enough that we're not talking about staff changes in a year. So yeah, Hawkins and then the young playmakers, I think, are the biggest story in this game.
Right. I think it should be treated as a audition, because I know, I think even, through whenever this transfer portal window is going to end, we're going to be continually looking for playmakers, because like we talked about, Brent needs to win now. And so using this as an audition to go out and, work really hard, even on the little stuff like blocking on the outside as a receiver, things like that. Trying to use this as an audition to get playing time next year, I think would go a long way, specifically in the bowl scenario. Because wouldn't you agree that bowl games have become more of a pageant? They're more pageantry than it is hard fought football in these bad boy mower bowls or whatever it is. I know they play football and the kids play really hard. But there's a part of me that thinks that, everyone's kind of opting out. So it's just all this weird scenarios.
I agree. I think the outcome of the game, as long as we're not killed, does not really matter too much to me. If we win, we do go above 500, however you want to make that sound good. But every coach will tell you in college football that the most important part of making a bowl game as a struggling team or a team that's younger are the extra practices that you get for the bowl game. Because if you don't make a bowl game, your season's done. It's not like you're getting together 2 or 3 times between your last game and the end of the semester. You don't practice with these kids again until spring ball. So thankfully winning that Bama game got us into a bowl. And we're going to see how bought in these players are. I think they're going to want to play well, especially after how bad they've been and just the publicity, what the media has been saying about them. I think OU wins this football game. I'm not confident in that, unfortunately, but I wasn't confident in anything they were doing this year except losing up until the Bama game.
Yeah.
So
I imagine Navy's going to hold on to the ball a long time, which, I like our defense being out there, but if they run the ball extremely well, we probably won't have a good chance. It'll be a lot like if you remember the Army game from 2018, you'll know what that kind of feels like. So I kind of imagine it'll be a lower scoring game just based off of what OU's offense has been.
And we mentioned Joe John Finley is calling plays, so it will be a low scoring game.
Right. And how much time I don't know Navy's possession stats, but I imagine they're pretty high with time of possession. So
for sure.
I imagine it being a low scoring game. I think OU tips the scales and wins maybe on a Kip Lewis interception. That seems to be the only way we win.
Yep. And again, as we've mentioned before, this is an incredibly biased podcast. So
yeah.
But yeah, Chris, I got to get out of here pretty soon. Before we go, I want you to tell me if there's one thing you could wish for Christmas as a sports fan, what would you ask for?
I have been thinking about this. Obviously, the true answer is I want Chet to come back as healthy as possible, early as possible, and have no lingering effects to get ready for the playoffs. That's my number one Christmas wish list. But if you ask me again, there's probably an even truer answer. So ask me again.
Hey, Chris, if you had to ask for one thing for Christmas as a sports fan, what is it?
I want the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. And this is this is very specific because ever since college, our friend has told us that we could throw him through a table, much like the Buffalo Bills do in their tailgating area. And I have thought about it every Super Bowl season, and it has yet to come true. And I think they have a really good chance So I really want to throw Tim through a table. I think that'd be really fun.
I don't know if I can top that one. Honestly, what I was going to say is let's have the Thunder play basketball in June and at least be in the finals, please.
Oh, I like that. That's a great one.
It's so generic. I don't care. I need it almost as bad as I need to throw Tim through a table.
Right.
But
do we each get to throw him through a table? I can't remember.
How many? I guess it will depend on how many tables we have available.
We can buy more.
Yeah, I would. And we can start a GoFundMe for this or something. We'll drop the link. But yeah, before we get out of here, Chris, anything else you want to say to the people?
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
Love it. Yep. Merry Christmas, everybody. Appreciate everybody coming up to us, talking to us about the podcast. Any ideas you have, we are open to anything. Let us know. Most everything. I'll say that. But yeah, next time we'll talk about the bowl game. We'll get back into OU basketball. They're 12-0 now. We definitely need to get back on talking about them. Porter Moser. Apparently, I've been saying his name wrong according to Ryan. But he's got a great thing going on. But appreciate y'all. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, and we will talk to y'all next time.
All night long, party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
Party, party, disco night. The music plays through all the land. And when we step out on the floor, we party. And then we dance some more.
Party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long. Party, party, we like